So setting up your routines to help do the things that you do on a routine basis for your closings, for your lead nurture, for your everything that you do. If it's repeatable, you set up a routine based off of those key dates. We are no longer limited based off of the overall workflow and this monolithic workflow that's out there. You just put in the date fields that you need. We started another co-pilot group, and one of the teams has some workflows from a previous application. But one of the interesting pieces of that was Don had set up separate workflows for the closings. So he'd set up a 10-day, a 21-day, and a 30-day closing. So there was three separate workflows based off of 10-day, 21-day, or 30-day. But he also had, that was for his buyer side. He had also set up 3 other workflows for the seller side for 10-day, 21-day, and 30-day. And which is great. I mean, it's having that workflow process out was extremely helpful. One of the things, though, that Cody and I have been preaching for forever here now, not forever, since I started doing this in July of last year, was there's a better way with routines. And so what I did, and this, I'm going to share this with you guys, but what I found very interesting was what he was doing was setting up separate workflows for those different things. But the only thing that was in common with those was the fact that there's a date difference between the start and the end. If you shrink that or grow that, it's the same stuff in the middle, but it's different dates that get started based off of when those happen. Well, by using a workflow, you've got to define the entire realm of everything. And in this case, a 30-day thing has, 80 some odd different activities. But then you're having to do those same 80 activities again if you're doing it a 21-day, but they're just condensed in distance. With routines, you can say, well, we've got an acceptance date, we've got an earnest money deposit date, we've got this, all the different dates. They're both used in both buyer and seller. The only thing that's different is the date itself changes based off of how long it is. So once you assign that date, the things that have to do for that date stay the exact same. So I said, okay, in your honest opinion, and this was an AI thing that I did. I said, in your honest opinion and analysis of what we just did, compare how much more efficient routines are over workflows, breaking down by maintenance time and other metrics. So it went through, this was like an independent piece from AI that analyzed this, and it says, well, based off of using those different date variants, switching from a monolithic workflow to a modular routine, it's going to save you 60 to 80% of your overall time to do this. It's 60 to 80% more efficient to do it with a routine. And then it says, let me break that down for you. How long does it take to set up a workflow with 50 to 80 activities? It can take up to 20 hours per workflow, totaling about 30 to 60 hours for both the buyer and the seller. Well, that's pretty yucky. With routines, it's much lower because you're building it once per key date. So you only have one key date, but all of them share the same date. They share the same actions that you do with those key dates, but you're just changing the key date is all you're doing. So if you've got 15 to 20 different key dates, it's going to save you 40 to 50% in reduction in time that it takes to create those. And it goes through maintenance. You know, how do you maintain a cumbersome workflow? Well, it's going to take you time, but then you have to do it 3 times because there's a 10-day, a 21-day, and a 30-day option. Well, that's no good. With the routine, it's much more streamlined. So it just breaks it down how much efficiency you gain using a routine versus a workflow. The scalability. So maybe you don't want a 10-day, a 21-day, or 30. Maybe you need a 25-day closing. Well, you know, then you're having to make up a separate workflow if you do that. With routines, you don't. It's infinitely scalable. So daily operations, it goes through how much more efficient in just daily time. So setting up your routines to help do the things that you do on a routine basis for your closings, for your lead nurture, for your everything that you do. If it's repeatable, you set up a routine based off of those key dates. We are no longer limited based off of the overall workflow and this monolithic workflow that's out there. You just put in the date fields that you need. So if you set up a routine specifically for HOA, if you have an HOA, you put in the HOA date, then it'll do the routine for the HOA. But if you don't have an HOA, you don't have to worry about it. It won't create anything for it. So it simplifies everything into what we call, you know, these, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. You're biting down these routines, biting down the workflow into small routines, small bite-sized things. And then it just makes it so much easier. So, you know, then it comes out and says, basically they're, you know, much more efficient for that. And I just thought this was a great piece of information to share with you guys to help you understand the thought pattern that we've put behind this, and why we've done what we've done is to help you guys be more efficient in everything that you do.